process of going from a classical Lagrangian, quantizing it and extracting physical information from it, like decay rates and scattering cross-sections, is quite a long process in quantum field theory. Now, in operator-style quantum field theory, as opposed to path integral style, one of the steps is to derive the S operator from the interaction picture, another is the LSZ reduction, and still another is the Wick expansion. And then you also have to write formulas for the physical quantities in terms of the scattering matrix or the transition matrix or the Feynman amplitude, which are all closely related. But the point is, it's a long process. And in this video, I'm going to show you one of those steps in that process. I'm going to show you the LSZ reduction. Now, I've shown you in a previous video deriving the interaction picture and the S operator from it, and in this one I'm going to show you another one of those steps. I'm going to show you the LSZ reduction. Specifically, I'm going to show you the LSZ reduction for scalar bosons. So I hope you enjoy. Here follows the math analysis. In my last video, I showed you how to derive the S operator and by extension the S matrix from the interaction picture, and it was a very elegant calculation, but that result alone isn't very useful. The reason for this is twofold. One, it is hard to deal with time-ordered products directly, and two, it is hard to deal with populated states directly. The first problem can be handled with something called Wick's theorem, which will not be discussed in this video, and the second one can be handled with something called the LSZ reduction formula. The LSZ reduction for scalar bosons will be the topic of this video. The reason why Wick's theorem will not be handled here is the following. Handling two such things in the same video would make for a long, unfocused video, and the LSZ reduction introduces even more time-ordered products into the calculation, so it seems only natural that a separate video on Wick's theorem be made sometime after one on the LSZ reduction formula. This is what will be done. I personally think that the LSZ reduction formula is easiest to derive in the Heisenberg picture rather than in the interaction picture. As a result, the LSZ reduction will be done in the Heisenberg picture in this video, and then at the end the transition to the interaction picture will be made on the result. In the Heisenberg picture, the states of the theory are time-independent. Therefore, in the Heisenberg picture, the S operator, without time evolving anything, converts a set or basis of asymptotic initial states, or in states, to another set or independent basis of asymptotic final states, or out states. One can trivially write this mathematically as follows here. It is also worth noting that the initial and final states correspond to a free theory because they are in the asymptotic limits where all the particles are too far apart for interactions to matter. With this notation sorted, we can get started on the LSZ reduction. Let's start with a more complete description of what problem the LSZ reduction actually solves. The interaction picture allows for a convenient formulation of the S operator. However, there is one more issue with the scattering matrix. It is not very convenient to try and apply operators like the S operator to populated states. On the contrary, the action of the various operators in question on the vacuum state is much more straightforward. Therefore, the next goal is to figure out how to write expressions like this in terms of operators in vacuum states. In other words, it is time to derive the LSZ reduction formula. Basically, the LSZ reduction formula allows one to write the matrix elements of the S operator, S matrix elements, entirely in terms of vacuum expectation values of field operators. The steps required to do this may seem kind of random, but they do ultimately achieve the desired goal. In this document, the LSZ reduction of the Ket states will be explained, and then the reduction of the Bra states will be shown. The first step in the LSZ reduction of the Ket state is to re-express the Ket state as a creation operator acting on a state populated by one fewer particles. These states are constructed by applying some number of creation operators on the vacuum, one for each particle, so we can pull one of the particles out of the states here and rewrite it as this creation operator acting on it, its equivalent. Because the initial and final states are free states, A in dagger is a creation operator associated with a free field. It can therefore be rewritten in terms of the field operator with the standard free field formula, this one here. This formula here was derived in a video on quantizing the scalar field. Inserting this and simplifying ultimately gives us this. Specifically insert it and then realize the states in the Heisenberg picture are time independent, so we can pull that out. Because the input states are asymptotic, evaluating this at t equals -infinity does not destroy the equality, but it does allow us to do something useful because we have this relation between the interacting field at times where interactions are important and the free asymptotic in field, where z to the 1/2 is a standard way of writing the wave function renormalization constant for renormalizing the divergences in the interacting theory. Using this, we can rewrite this formula like this. One can now independently consider taking the limit as t goes to plus infinity of the integral under the previous limit in the last equation. Specifically, I mean this. So we're taking what's under the limit there, this integral, well, we're also including this factor, and then taking the limit as t goes to plus infinity instead of t goes to minus infinity, where I have called this quantity I of infinity so that it can be easily referenced later. If one then subtracts the previous limiting case from this one arrives at the integral of a time derivative. This is just a direct application of the fundamental theorem of calculus. So we take this quantity and subtract this one from it, and we can rewrite that as the integral of a time derivative with these integration bounds. Now let's consider the most recent expression for the scattering matrix element. It was given above, and I've placed it here as well to remind you. If we add and subtract I of infinity from this and rewrite the result using equation A, then one arrives at this. In the first term, with the limit as t goes to plus infinity, one can reverse the above procedure using the following formulas. These formulas here. Now these are exactly the same as the one we used to replace the creation operator with the field operator, except we're now on the out basis instead of the in basis. This gives us this result here, where this first term has been rewritten like that. Acting to the left, a dagger out is an annihilation operator. It will therefore zero the first term unless there exists in the final state an identical particle with exactly the same momentum as the particular incoming particle corresponding to a out dagger. If this is the case, then a particle enters and exits unaffected by the scattering. Since the forward scattering part is not of interest, and because these terms are usually zero anyway, we generally ignore them. They are called disconnected graphs or disconnected terms. So we'll forget the mathematical form of them and just recognize that they're there with the words disconnected term. Now let's process the second term. First, let's write out what we mean by this time derivative with the double arrow on it. It's basically like the product rule except with a minus sign instead of a plus sign. Then we can apply this outer time derivative with the normal product rule, and that gives us this. This term and that term cancel, which results in this. Here's where the really nifty tricks start. We can productively rewrite this by applying the energy-momentum relation, which I've written like this to make the substitution super obvious, and that gets us here. One can now take advantage of the property of the natural exponential under a derivative to rewrite this factor, which shows up there, as this one. Substituting that in gives us this expression. One can then use integration by parts to move this del squared such that it is no longer acting on the phase factor, but instead acts on the matrix element. This can be done without including a boundary term because everything is localized in position space. Doing this gives us this result. Now we can factor and recognize the Klein-Gordon operator showing up here. Specifically, we've got that D'Alembert forming from the second time derivative in this del squared. This completes the first cycle of the LSZ reduction. All that we need to do now is reduce out all of the other particles in the initial and final states. I will now show an example of performing an LSZ reduction cycle in the final state. It proceeds almost identically. The first step is to rewrite the output state in terms of a creation operator of one of the particles applied to the output state in place of denoting it in the state. So we're pulling out a creation operator just like we did in the first cycle. Only the factor acted upon by the Klein-Gordon operator is affected by further LSZ reduction cycles, so that is all that we will treat. Then we will substitute the result into the full formula at the end. If we do what I just said and we pull out a creation operator, which looks like an annihilation operator because it's acting to the left, and then we replace it with a field operator we get here. Now that there is more than one field present in the matrix, time ordering is required to make sure that the transition from the time derivative to the Klein-Gordon operator is possible, which gets us here. Then we can perform the same steps as above to rewrite the time derivatives as Klein-Gordon operators, which gets us to this, and we've got another disconnected term showing up. Then if we substitute this back into the full S matrix, we arrive here where we now have two disconnected terms, so I've put an S there. One can repeat this process until the S matrix is completely reduced out. The result is the full LSZ reduction formula in the Heisenberg picture, this. Now that we have completed deriving the LSZ reduction formula in the Heisenberg picture, it is time to transform the result into the interaction picture. In a previous video, I derived the interaction picture and the S operator from it. What follows is the relevant information from that derivation. The relation between the operators in the Heisenberg picture and the interaction picture is this, where the U operator takes this form, and the S operator is a special case of the U operator where T0 is negative infinity and T is infinity. The relation between the states in the two pictures is this. Basically, the Heisenberg picture states are time independent, and they're equal to the interaction picture states at the initial time, but then to get the interaction picture states, which are time dependent at some time t, you have to time evolve the Heisenberg picture state to that time using the U operator, the time evolution operator. The usual thing to do is to take this fiducial initial time to be the asymptotic initial time, t equals negative infinity. So we have this definition of U of t. This means that in this case, the transition to the interaction picture, where interacting quantum fields have a structure identical to free quantum fields in the usual Heisenberg picture, just corresponds to inverse time evolving back to the asymptotic input time, where the quantum fields are free anyway. The following calculation is made easier by selecting the values of the time coordinates included in the 4D spacetime coordinates x1 through xn to be in time order when placed in this ascending order. Therefore, the time ordering operator can be dropped in the vacuum expectation value that we are working with. Now, I'm going to do this calculation with just the x's and not the y's, and that's just to make the notation simpler. You can easily just relabel some of the x's to be y's or add y's, and it affects nothing. It's just what you're calling the coordinates. And I'll do that when I substitute the result back into the LSZ reduction formula to get the final result. Now let's do the transformation to the interaction picture with the formulas just given. Using the U operators, we have this result for the transition. Then we can combine some of the U operators together to get here. We can then reimpose time ordering. This allows us to move the time evolution operators freely around inside the time ordering. We can use this to combine most of the time evolution operators into one time evolution operator. So we go from here to here, and then we can substitute the formula for the time evolution operator in, which gets us to that. In the scattering calculations that we are considering here, the largest time t and the smallest time minus t are asymptotic. I've already mentioned that we're taking this lower one to negative infinity, but we're also going to take that one to plus infinity because we're doing these standard scattering calculations. The exponential, therefore, is just the s operator. Now all we need to do is deal with the states. This right one is trivially easy because we're evaluating u of t at negative infinity, so we've got u of negative infinity, so it's not actually doing any time evolution, it's just the identity operator, and therefore we have this. Now to work out this left one, we have to be a bit trickier. We need to remember some formulas above for the relationship between the interaction picture states and the Heisenberg picture states. I explained that the Heisenberg picture states are equal to the interaction picture states at the initial time, and to get the future interaction picture states, you need to time evolve off that with the U operator. So with that established, now we can work out the values of this left state acted upon by this U operator by recognizing that in a functional theory the vacuum is stable. This means that when one time evolves it from negative infinity to infinity, it remains unchanged to within a phase, which I will call phi, where this phi is not a curly phi to distinguish it from the phi, the field operators. The phase can easily be computed by taking the inner product of this equation with another vacuum, which ultimately gets us here. So from this we see that the phase phi just gives the vacuum-to-vacuum contributions. By this I mean Feynman graphs without any legs. One can call it vacuum energy or quantum foam. So the final result for the desired vacuum expectation value, the endpoint Green's function, is simply this. This can be applied to the S matrix to yield the interaction picture version of it, which gets us here. This is the fully LSZ reduced scalar bosons scattering matrix. Thus our calculation is complete. So now you have seen how to start with the S matrix in the Heisenberg picture and LSZ reduce it completely, and then finally to transform to the interaction picture so that we've got the full LSZ reduced interaction picture scattering matrix. It's quite a beautiful thing. It's really cool that you can circumvent all those problems so effectively. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you understand quantum field theory better. I hope it helped you love quantum field theory more. If it did, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe. Dietrich out.